Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Loyd, and welcome to the Spiritual Laws of Nature. I've been doing a radio show podcast for about 15 years where each week I would teach a different one of these spiritual laws. And went pretty well. We would have about 10,000 people listen either at the time live or to the recordings. And so we kept doing that a long time. And then we just switched to this YouTube channel about a year ago. I think we've been at it about 10 months or so. And one of the things that I've kind of had as a rule for me from the very first is not to sell anything. For this to be something where I just give and that's it. No commercials, nothing to sell, whatever. And we have done that completely over all these years. But something happened a couple of months ago that got me thinking. I had a lady who watches the channel each week and had listened to the podcast and radio show too for a number of years, contact me, and she said, Dr. Alex, I respect you not wanting to sell anything on this, but she said, I think what you might be forgetting is that your own wife, Hope, was not able to break out of her depression without the tools. The spiritual laws weren't enough for her. She needed the tools too. And then this lady said, and that's the same thing that was true for me. I love the spiritual laws and they've changed my life, but I needed the tools too in order to break out of my life problems, which she's now done. And then, coincidentally, over the last couple of months, I've heard from two other people who said almost exactly the same thing. And so I've been praying about that ever since. And this one time, I'm going to make an exception and share with you what I guess the title of this would be The Tools You Need for the Life You Want. All right, and the more I thought about it, the more comfortable I became with it, because the tool I'm going to tell you about primarily completely grew out of a spiritual root. My wife was depressed, and I'd been praying for her every day without ceasing for 12 years. When I discovered the tool that helped her break out of her depression. And she hasn't been depressed since. It took 45 minutes, then it came back, and then after she'd been doing it for 3 weeks, never came back again. And that was depression that the doctor said, this is major clinical general depression. It's genetic. She'll have it till the day she dies. Well, that's not true. She hasn't had it in 20 years now, since using a tool that I discovered that was called the Healing Code. And I wrote a book about it, became a bestseller, wrote another book. I've written 3 books so far. I never would have, in a million years, would have seen myself as a writer. But they're in 30 languages, 40 countries. They've been number 1 bestsellers overall in 7 countries, top 10 in 22 others. And they're primarily about the spiritual laws and using these tools. Okay? So 20 years later, 20 years since the discovery, but 32 years since I started my search, I really believe I've completed kind of what I would call my life's work in the field of psychology, which is where I started. And it's called Trilogy. And Trilogy addresses the 12 different categories where any problem in your life is going to be somewhere in those 12 categories. And here they are. And it's love, but also selfishness. So you have the positive virtue and then the negative problem. So love, selfishness, joy, sadness, hopelessness, helplessness, peace, anxiety, belief, and unhealthy control. There is a healthy control, but we're talking unhealthy control here. Patience and anger, kindness, rejection, goodness, I'm bad, I don't measure up, I'm not good enough. Humility, inferiority, and superiority. These are 9 categories that I call the virtues and the opposite of the virtues, which are the problems inside you. And then these 3 I call the inhibitors. They inhibit you from living the life that you want. Unforgiveness is the biggest issue on planet Earth. Harmful actions, which primarily boil down to 3 different categories in your life, where almost everyone I've ever met has a habit or an addiction, including me. I had one for about 30 years of my life. And then wrong beliefs. And my friend Dr. Bruce Lipton, a doctor from Stanford Medical School, says that virtually 100% of illness and disease originates from wrong beliefs inside your mind, and it's usually in this subconscious or unconscious, which means you may very well not even know what the belief is. And for each one of these categories, there's a body system. For instance, love is the glandular hormonal system that a lot of medical doctors say is the most important system, even above central nervous. Joy is the skin, integumentary system. Peace is gastrointestinal system, and so on and so forth. And then the organs within gastrointestinal system, like let's take peace, gastrointestinal, liver, gallbladder, stomach, those would be in this category as well. So my life's work, I would probably say, at least as far as the tools go, is the latest, greatest thing that I just recently released called Trilogy. And Trilogy works on these same categories. In other words, any issue you could ever have, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, is going to fall into one of these categories. And then there's custom Trilogy processes that take 5 minutes to do, to heal the source of the problem. So to heal the selfishness, sadness, anxiety, to heal the gastrointestinal system, to heal the skin, to heal your glandular hormonal system, etc. All right? So it's sort of a life encyclopedia of natural health, or at least you might think of it that way. All right? And the thing that's different about Trilogy, my original method was called the healing codes. And based on medical tests, it was about 86-87% effective, meaning eliminating the problem. All right? And that was the highest I'd ever seen at that time, which was 20 years ago. My latest thing that I just released, based on 3 years of medical testing, has rated at 98% effective for healing the source of the problem. And in that testing, 98% of the time for the test subjects, their emotional distress, their emotional stress, reduced by 50% or more in 5 minutes, 98% of the time. And then over time, usually weeks and months, not years, the other things heal as well. The thing that's unique about Trilogy is that it combines all of the top methods in the world, going back to 1500 BC, into one 5-minute process. It took me about 2 years to figure out which pieces to use and in which order. Because sometimes the order, some of them you can't use at all because one nullifies the other. And then sometimes one just doesn't work well if you put it first. It needs to be 8th, not first. And another one needs to be 3rd, not 7th. And that's how it works best. And I tested all of that with medical tests. And what I came up with was a 5-minute process combining the top 12 processes, modalities of all time in one 5-minute process. Mine is called the Healing Code, and that's in there. You ever heard of acupuncture? That's in there, but no needles, simple tapping, all right? And then probably 5 or 6 that you've never heard of, but are fabulous and primarily come out of Eastern medicine. But we know they work today, and many of them by clinical test or university studies. So Trilogy is the first process ever in the world to do this. Everyone else is just, okay, here's my process. Like I was with the healing codes for 20 years. My thing was the healing codes. Trilogy's not the healing codes. Healing codes are in it, but the Trilogy is everything, all the best things in one 5-minute process. And what I found is when I got the combinations and everything exactly right, they not only didn't keep each other from working, they magnified each other. So each one was more powerful within Trilogy than it was on its own by itself. Okay? So Trilogy, and I know how biased I am, but people used to try to get me to say that the healing codes was the best process in the world for natural healing, etc. And I would never say that. I never did say that. I will say that about Trilogy. 98% in 5 minutes, that's just crazy. But with Trilogy, it makes sense because it's not just one thing. It's all of the best things in one 5-minute process. And because it's all of the best things, it addresses every part of our being, body, mind, and spirit, all at the same time. And it addresses those subconscious, unconscious beliefs that Dr. Lipton says is the key to everything. All right? So I very recently released Trilogy, the home study course for the first time ever. All right? And it is the best tool I know of in the world. Again, the medical test, 98% effective. It is patent pending. It's the only thing I've ever patented. It is patent pending, and it is wonderful. And this is an old healing codes manual, and so what I'm talking about is obviously Trilogy. I don't have a Trilogy manual in paper. The Trilogy manual is virtual so that we can get it to you immediately and to save on expense, all right? But the Trilogy manual is the same size as this, okay? This is 246 pages, all right? And this is big pages, and it's not big type, okay? But it's easy to read type. But anyway, this is like, not an encyclopedia, I said that before. It's like a desk reference. It's almost like the physician's desk reference. Anytime you have a problem come up in your life, all you have to do is go to the back of the manual, and you'll see there's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of possible problems you could have in your life. Anger, inferiority, a gallbladder problem, cancer, heart disease, a hormonal imbalance, a brain chemical imbalance, grief. It doesn't matter. Money, financial problems, can't succeed at your work. No matter what the problem is, you simply go to the back of the manual, and there's an index in alphabetical order. You find your problem, or the closest one to it, and there'll be one for that, I promise, and it'll have a page number beside it. You go to that page number, and you'll find the custom Trilogy process, 5 minutes, to bring down the emotional stress by 50% or more in 5 minutes, and then long-term to heal it completely at the source. All right? So it's taken me years and years and years. And as far as creating tools in the area of psychology and natural health, this is the best thing by far I've ever come up with or seen in the world. And since we released it, I've talked with hundreds of practitioners, have lectured and talked to people there, and even practitioners, psychologists, psychiatrists, medical doctors, counselors, therapists, ministers are telling me that this works better than the healing code, better than anything they've ever seen. And therapists who used to use multiple modalities with their clients are now telling me, a lot of them, they're only using Trilogy now because it works so well. And it should, because it combines all the best things into one 5-minute thing that's 98% effective in 5 minutes. So this one time, I'm going to, I guess this is a sales pitch. That Trilogy is the tool that I would recommend to use along with the spiritual laws of nature. But again, the Trilogy comes out of a root of spirituality, starting with 12 years of prayer for my life. And then all of these are spiritual issues, every single one of them. Sadness, hopelessness, helplessness is a spiritual issue. Anxiety and fear is a spiritual issue. Inferiority or superiority, a spiritual issue. So they really work hand in glove. One, deciding how you're going to live your life and changing your mind and heart set. The other one, an actual physical tool, the healing codes, acupuncture, and 10 other things in one 5-minute package that automatically, you know how it kind of works? Everybody these days is familiar with noise cancellation headsets or earbuds. I've got my new iPhone noise cancellation earbuds out there. I meant to bring them in with me. But anyway, it's amazing. It's really amazing. I travel a lot overseas, and so that airplane noise can bother me sometimes. Man, you put those things in, turn them on, and it's quiet. Well, how does that work? The way it works is there's a microphone in those earbuds that picks up the ambient noise in your circumstances, and then the machine creates the perfect frequency to cancel the noise frequency. And it does that. And that's 8th grade physics put into practical use. Well, that's kind of how Trilogy works too. It's kind of stress cancellation technology that are the very best things by the most gifted, others who received a thing through prayer too, but the top 12 in the history of the world going to 1500 BC in one 5-minute process that anytime you have a problem, you just look in the back, find your problem, go to that page number, and there's the 5-minute process for you to do. You simply do it until the problem goes away. And then you go on to whatever's next. So if you're interested in Trilogy, it has a 1-year money-back guarantee, 365 days. It's the best I've ever seen. All of my peers told me I was crazy for doing that, but it was a spiritual thing to me. Okay? Has every process for any problem you could ever have in your life, and if you want to get it today, I will give you an additional discount for coming from the Spiritual Laws of Nature YouTube channel, and I'm happy to do that. Before I close, one other tool I would recommend. You see me wearing it. It's a little band I wear on my arm, and this is wearable energy technology. That's what this is, wearable energy technology. And this was invented by a really good friend of mine, Mike Flint, who wrote a best-selling book called The Senior. They're making a movie about it. It's basically a movie about his life. LeBron James wrote the foreword to his book. He was the strength and conditioning coach at the University of Oregon, University of Nebraska, and Texas A&M University. he has the distinction of being the oldest NCAA linebacker in history that actually played. He played linebacker in college at 59 years old. And that's what the movie's about. And that was a spiritual journey for him, too. That's the reason he did that. But anyway, he invented this thing trying to find something that would protect kids from Wi-Fi, cellular, all our tech waves that are, he believed, affecting our children's health and well-being. And over a 12-year span, he invented this, and by accident discovered he achieved his objective in protecting from 5G, Wi-Fi, cellular, all that. But by accident, as he did tests over 12 years, he found as soon as you put in the test subjects, as soon as they put it on their body, it immediately changed their blood. And there's one test they did with dark field microscopy live blood test. I think she was about an 80-year-old lady, and the doctor was looking at her first blood sample saying the blood is coagulated, it looks her age, it's not moving, it's kind of stagnant. She put this on, and then the doctor drew blood again, and is like, this looks like the blood of a 20-year-old. Her blood's moving now, has way more oxygen. It's just unbelievable, all right? So this stuff, this band that's called the Q3 does so much more than Mike was searching for, and I found that happens a lot. It changes your blood. It with the test subjects, a lot of them, it made them biologically younger instantly. A lot of them, it increased muscle mass and decreased fat content in their body instantly. A lot of them, it increased their hydration instantly in 60 seconds without taking a drink. It's opening up their cells. It's just incredible. And I think there were like 7 things tested by medical test that it did with the test subjects that are all supposed to be impossible. But so anyway, this is the best device I've ever found. It's absolutely incredible. And I would recommend getting one of these for yourself and everyone in your family. All of my family wears them. Hope and I wear 2 or 3 at a time most days. That's the other tool I would recommend getting, and we'll give you a discount on that if you want to get that too. So anyway, apologies for the sales pitch, but after those people talked to me and really praying about it, I felt like, some of you are not going to be able to get to 100% to where you want to get in your life, maybe without some powerful tools to help, which was the case with my wife and many, many other people. So these are the 2 tools that I would recommend if you want to really jumpstart getting to your absolute best life. So give them a try, don't give them a try, but I've fulfilled the answer to my prayer now to at least let you know about them. So take a look and see what you think. Have a wonderful, blessed day.